it's still June, hopefully, and that means one more monstrous creature video, and it's one of those ones we're going to do too. Last time we rolled for initiative, and it was very funny by just having you two think of a number. So should we do that again?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I'm all right.
Okay, you guys roll initiative to see who introduces first.
Okay.
I've got a number.
Yep.
Right, we're on 3. 1, 2, 3.
12.
11.
Oh, Sam's just eked it out.
Oh.
Nice. Okay, you got a big monster for me, Sam.
I do have a big monster for you. And
okay, so give it to me.
that monster's name is the Leviathan.
The Leviathan?
Mm.
I actually have no idea what that is in terms of D&D.
Yes.
Like, it's just a word that means like a big thing, right?
It does, which kind of is what drew me to it.
We'll talk more about it in a second. And Neil, what's yours?
My one is a Neolithid.
Ah.
I've definitely heard of it, but I don't remember what it is. So, okay, we've got two things that I have no idea. Okay, let's start with you, Sam. What's the Leviathan in D&D?
So,
I'm going to draw some clouds because I know I'm going to need them.
There's a
cover up everything.
So there's a few types of, like, when you look online for this, there's a few different types of it. I'm going to go by the one that's officially in Mordekainen's book, and it is an Elder Elemental.
Oh, okay. And
so
is it a water element?
It is indeed.
Okay, cool. That makes sense. Okay, so these clouds might be waves of some sort.
So yeah,
foam.
It's like a big wall of water. Is how they describe it in the book that drags ships.
Has it got a body?
It has a body, yeah. So it's like a swirl. Like it's a bit of a like. There's not much description, but like there is a piece of art in the book that kind of shows it being like a kind of. It shows it underwater actually. It's like a swirling kind of like almost like serpentine form, like a kind of almost dragon head. But like it's
like a water dragon or something.
It is like a water dragon, kind of.
Sure. Now, unfortunately, because you've given me too much freedom here, because it's something that doesn't really have a form as so much. And the Leviathan, all I think of when I hear the word Leviathan,
exactly what you're going to say,
is that old book with the picture. I'll put it on the screen. I don't generally put stuff on the screen, but this ain't in copyright. Where the Leviathan is a big man made up of little men.
It's all about pro-autocracy.
Yeah, it's a political book about how the king is great.
Yeah,
the king is great. I ain't going to talk about it because I don't know. But this could be cool. This might not be bad. Let's just be real here.
I'm very into it already.
It's going to be a bit of an Attack of the Titans, Clash of the Titans, even good old the Kraken from that. Anyway, okay, so now I have someone to go on for that. Neil, what should I be drawing for your thing?
Okay, so certainly I'm looking at already what you're drawing for the Leviathan. This is certainly a match for the ages.
I think I'm going to guess it's a mind flayery thing, right? Because of the thid in there.
A Neolithid is basically what happens after a mind flare colony collapses.
Okay.
And the tadpoles don't get eaten. And they keep growing.
Yeah, I do know. Is that gargantuan?
That is gargantuan.
It's like a big worm. Right?
Yes. It's a big giant worm with almost like a predator face for a mouth and tendrils kind of coming out of its octopus-like jaws.
Okay, sure, right.
I think this is definitely an ocean battle.
He's grabbing something and it's going to be swirling around. This might be complicated, guys.
This is very Pacific Rim.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I kind of wanted to do something on a very silly scale. These are going to be bigger than they actually are, like in terms of...
they're fighting over a halfling town.
Yeah, there you go. It's tiny town. It's tiny town. Hang on. Okay, you guys talk about the things. This is gonna be one of those ones where I have to spend a lot of time going at it.
First of all, mine's a gargantuan creature whose challenge rating isn't 97.
Oh.
His challenge rating's 13.
Okay, so this guy. So I'm right to drawing this guy potentially losing this fight.
And what these creatures that are is I quite like some of the lore about them, which is that they're something that mind flayers kind of fear,
right? Because
they're their food kind of gotten away,
right.
And they make the perfect things to like hunt mind flayers because they're undetectable to detect thoughts because they're not smart enough.
Okay, yeah.
And mind flayers like hunt them because they see them as being despicable creatures.
Because mind flayers have this sort of weird. They're very obsessed with like status and a sort of perfect ideal version of what they are, because as they consider themselves to be a higher being. So I guess having something stupid and powerful and terrifying that they can't really fight effectively is definitely not something that they like.
Yeah, and these things, they detect thoughts out to like a mile.
Oh wow, okay.
And they use their tendrily mouths to like draw people in and swallow creatures and stuff like that.
Oh yeah.
You also have an acid breath.
Oh, it's got acid. Okay, so yeah. Hang on. I don't think acid would be working too well on this guy, though. To be fair.
No, probably not.
This is a bad matchup for him.
They have some innate spellcasting.
Okay.
Like levitate, confusion, feeble mind, telekinesis.
Do they have like a body or arms or anything?
It's just a continuous writhing worm, is what it seems like. It's very much slimy worm-like creature.
This is gonna be okay. Don't worry, guys. This is gonna be fine. It's gonna be fine, guys. No problems.
Very into whatever this is right now.
It's just there's a worm going on. This is okay. It's fine.
Sam, what's the Leviathan?
I don't know what I'm doing. But you tell me about the Leviathan.
So there's not much like particular lore to the Leviathans, so much as in like these like elder ones. It kind of like goes on about how like they obviously they have to be summoned from the elemental plane, and like the way that that's done is obviously kept in secrecy. So it's pretty much down to like it'd be the kind of thing that the big bad of one of your campaigns might want to summon one of these guys, because there's 4 of them, and they all kind of represent obviously different elements, obviously. And see, when it gets summoned, it kind of just comes in and does big smashing things to all the boats and coastal towns around it. It is neutral. It has intelligence of 2.
Okay, so it's just a big elemental. It's a big monster.
It's a giant monster that can be summoned.
It's a force of nature.
Yeah,
it's a force of nature. Okay, that's kind of interesting. How what was its challenge rating?
Its challenge rating is 20.
Oh, so it's a big scary boy.
It's pretty tough. It's got, apart from intelligence, its stats are very good. It has like Tarrasque, strength, and con. It's got 30 in each.
Oh wow, yeah. I mean,
that's very good.
Yeah,
it's definitely overpowering the Neolithid.
Yeah.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. I mean,
27, which is no slouch, but that's 2
I mean,
less.
That's loads. 27 is absolutely loads, but this is a scary man. There's gonna be cliffs and stuff in the background.
Oh, I love it.
Again, there's gonna be a lot of stuff in the foreground to prevent me from having to figure out what's actually going on. Maybe he's wrapping around a big rock. That'd be great. That's good. That's fun. Splash. Does it have eyes? The Neolithid, do you think?
It's very impossible to see because it's got this giant predator. It's got this giant predator mouth that's like. It's basically like, imagine a spread octopus ready to like wrap around something.
Yeah. I'm gonna
it's
try
kind
and
of got that thing going on.
Give it
They've got
some
like
of that.
little hooks on the end.
Okay.
It has blind sight, so it's probably blind.
Yeah, so it doesn't have... Okay, that's kind of interesting.
Dragons have blind sight though, so, you know.
I think in this case, though, it probably can't... It probably doesn't have eyes. It just... Mainly because it's more creepy, and this thing is just meant to be a disgusting, creepy worm. Every disgusting, creepy worm that's ever been in anything.
Yes. Yeah, but this one is slightly more insidious because of the Mind Flayer origin and its psychic abilities.
Yeah. I think, in a way, the way I would... we're not going to talk too much about it, but I think the way I would kind of think to use this is if you wanted to have any sort of bargaining with Mind Flayers, you could have them say, okay, well, go kill this thing. Because we don't want nothing to do with it, and we want it dead. So if you go kill this, then maybe we can make some sort of arrangement.
Yeah, and the Mind Flayers obviously betray you.
Yeah.
Obviously. I mean, you can't have... Yeah, you should not be making friends with Mind Flayers for too long.
It's like making deals with colonists.
Yeah, exactly.
You just don't do it.
Just don't do it. Because of the way that they work, they're probably one of the rarest creatures in D&D, like, from a lore perspective, right?
Probably, although you'd be surprised how many Mind Flayer nests get killed every day in D&D.
Well, I guess that's true.
Parties hunting you down.
In D&D every day, but not in the same universe every day.
No,
not in the same
true.
setting. Because I think because of the specifics that need to occur for these things to exist are like so. Because they have to survive a colony collapse, as it were, of a Mind Flayer, and then also have to then survive on their own without any sustenance
and grow big
and grow to be gargantuan because they start off as tiny, the little Ciro thingamabobs.
Yeah, so it's probably like because they're Underdark, creature.
Yeah.
So it's definitely something that's roaming around the vast Underdark. searching for living organisms.
I think it's also one of those things as well where like if there's like a load of them left, they will like you know like how like the super rat story that they'll fight and eat each other until there's one that's left and it's got big from eating all the others. And then they can, like hunt small creatures and then
because it's no brain. It is just a devour, get food. But the more insidious nature of that again is that it detects brains. Because it's,
I guess that means it has a better chance of surviving on its own than some things might, because it can come and find you.
Yeah, it's out to a mile.
That's a mile. That's pretty far. And the Underdark isn't like underpopulated so much. It's got a bunch of stuff in there. It's got flumps. That's another way I guess you could use them if you didn't want to have mind flayers as like because they are quite complicated as like a society thing. There's a lot to it. But if you wanted to have some mind flayer flavor, you could have. Hey, there were mind flayers here, and they died, and this is what's left of it.
Oh, you could have that creepy alien, as in like the movie.
Dead
temple.
That'd be really. That's actually really cool.
Rotted brain.
Because then you could, if you've got a group of veteran players who like will pick up that you're hinting at mind flayers, and then you go, but they're all dead. You find whatever remains. You find ruins,
deflated mind flayers.
Because this thing is not that well known, so even like a group of veteran players wouldn't necessarily know about it. So you could really get them with this thing.
I had another use as well for it as well.
Oh yeah.
There's a lot of mind flayers that you can read about in the book, which are mind flayer exiles.
Right. Yeah.
Like Alhoons and things like that, and they could certainly maybe be using one of these creatures. Because they know about their biology, their wants, their needs, and maybe manipulating one of them. And then it's like this other creature that's like all of the outcasts of like Mind Flayer society stuff together.
Yeah.
And you could have it just terrorizing people because of, that's what they do. They want to eat brains and they're all slightly mad.
And this is something that you couldn't really have these guys outside the Underdark, probably. I guess maybe it's wandered out.
Unless you have a storyline about, like, it's devoured a city or something. And then
there was a tunnel to the Underdark underneath this city, and then this thing popped out of it.
After your party defeat it, that could lead into maybe an underground adventure where you go down and you find, like, the ruined city of Aduragar that this thing is devoured through. It doesn't say exactly why, but it talks about how elder brains are kind of aware of this.
Oh, okay.
And that whenever they see a tadpole growing to any kind of length, they immediately kill it.
Right. Because I know the other... Because, like, the process of turning into a mind flayer takes, like, a few weeks, I think, is what it says. So maybe this thing would take up to a year to get to be gargantuan, maybe? So what I'm now thinking is maybe you could have your mind flayer adventure, and then the party goes, yay, we win, ha ha ha, and then they go off. And then, if you have like a big time skip, which you could totally have, this thing could come out of where they came out. You
could even have the exile or a surviving mind flayer unleash it as a revenge.
Yeah. Or they accidentally take it out with them. that relies on them taking one of these things out. But that's something that's something I can really imagine a party doing in D&D, is going, oh, there's a cute little tadpole in the brain jar. Oh, let's take it. Let's save it. Let's raise it nice. And then I can imagine that happening in D&D. I can imagine myself doing that in D&D.
Yeah, I mean, nothing says that technically, if you are playing D&D and you're playing fun D&D, there's absolutely no reason why you couldn't raise this creature as a friend.
I mean...
It's not evil. Actually, it is chaotic evil.
Yeah, it's evil. it exists to eat your brain, but...
Yeah, but it's like any animal, I guess. If you're feeding it brain, you're feeding it brain.
There's no reason an evil person couldn't have this, or any villain. So we say you have mind flayers could be using it, but there's no reason... Like an evil ex-adventurer could have found one and raised one, potentially.
That's pretty cool. An ex-adventurer who slayed a mind flayer nest.
Yeah.
He lost all his party and was driven slightly mad.
Yeah.
Oh, the Leviathan, though. I think the Leviathan's got a bunch of uses as well.
we got Neptune here. That's basically what I'm drawing. Or why did I call him Neptune? Why didn't I say
Poseidon?
Poseidon. I don't know. Neptune's like, I don't really go for the Roman ones that often, but Neptune's a good name. Anyway,
it can only be brought into this plane of existence by like a very particular means. So
right,
that's generally how you'd probably tie it into your game, unless like I mean, unless you went for something a bit kooky, like all 4 of them just exist in the world, because they all represent different things, and they all have different, like, they all have, like, each one has, like, an innate kind of desire to expand their element.
Yeah, and I think having that would be a really great just basis for a campaign, to be honest. That would be awesome. Having, like, it's conflicting forces. If you don't want to be political in your game, for whatever reason, because politics is hard to run and complicated, but you want to have opposing, like, forces that are very, cut and dry and clearly, identifiable, then I think having the big elementals could be really cool.
So, well, it's a central D&D thing that, like, often I think the early pioneers talked about is order versus disorder.
Right, yeah. And you could have cults to them in your setting if you were to use them like that, and it could be cool. But yeah, for the actual use of them, I guess it is very specific. There must be adventures that use them as well. But
I like the idea of when I was immediately thinking of when you said the Leviathan and, like, summoning it. You have the party do it because of the villains have summoned a giant fire elemental.
They could have summoned the Phoenix, which is and that just flies around burning everything. So,
and then a quest to summon its opposite element. And they battle, gets out of hand maybe.
Yeah.
Like, in regards to, like, what it does, it is a kind of, it does, like, its main attacks are just like slamming things and hitting them with its tail. It does have a pretty cool, like, tidal wave ability, like recharge 6, and basically if it's submerged, it makes a wall of water 250 feet long and 250 feet high.
I just want it submerged. That's really cool. So it, like, dips down. Yeah. And then,
I don't know why it's. I think it magically creates this.
Right.
This wall. So this big, like, 250 foot wall that's like that long and 250 foot wide, and then it expands at 50 foot every turn.
Oh wow! Yeah.
And,
that's cool. That is cool. Yeah. Anything that's, like, more than one turn, I guess it's a pain to try and manage, but it's very cool.
I mean, there's quite a lot to it. Like, obviously, it's like 60-10 damage. It's like a DC 24, but then each round it gets 50 feet shorter. Obviously, as the wave, like, expands out.
Yeah,
so it's 1d10 less every time.
That's like devastate armies attack.
Yeah, it's literally, it could rock up and, and, like, flood, like, 250 feet. If it just did that near a coastline, like, that's a city gone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, don't do it to a human town, do it to a Kuatoa town.
And I'm just thinking about, like, having the Leviathan in, like, a sea-based campaign. Like, if you're on a boat, that would be a pretty terrifying thing to have going on.
Yeah, it'd probably be about as bad as a Kraken kind of level.
Is that who I think that is on the hill?
Might be, friend. He's just having a look. No one's going to be too small. But I guess he's on top.
He could have the horn.
He's gonna. Oh, that's true. He'll be sitting on. He's gonna be up there. There he is. Boom. Done.
I didn't realise this was a triple monster episode.
Oh, and what was the other one we did again? There's the astral red noise coming for you.
Oh, it's a surprise attack.
It's probably ought to do that, actually. I don't know where it'd be coming from. There's gonna have to. No, I was gonna say. I guess I'll put up here like a big portal to the astral plane, but I think that might slightly ruin the composition. Just a little bit. Just tiny
Have
amount.
one star in the sky.
I am very tempted to have that, but no, I shall not do that. I'm gonna leave that. I'm gonna leave that area blank because I too often just make things too crowded. A lot of the stuff we said about the Taras kind of is true for these, although not to the same extent. These are big monsters that you want to use carefully. You don't want to just throw these in wherever. I think the most. As the lowest chance rating thing, the what's it called again? The
Neolithid.
The Neolithid is probably the most versatile.
This is usable as like a purple worm, like
exactly. And it's like a purple worm with more story to it in a way. I think you could do a lot of stuff with the Leviathan because it's more of a blank canvas in that it's a big elemental thing. It does have lore, but it's not too complicated, and it's not really built into what it does as well. Yeah,
when I was like looking at it, like it's bare bones isn't the right word, but I ended up like trying to look for like more stuff about it, and there's a lot of like because obviously Leviathan's a bit of a it's as a name it's
a generic term.
There's a few like obviously like homebrew stuff that I don't want to get into too much, but they followed similar ideas.
If you're really into like really classic mythology stuff, like I'm thinking of the bit in Jason and the Argonauts with the when Neptune comes up and parts the rocks. All that stuff, I think it'd be really fun and effective for that sort of thing.
There is actually one more thing I want to say that I don't know how useful it is, but it's very funny.
Okay,
and that's
sure.
in the book. In its thing, it has water form, so it can enter a hostile creature's space and stop there. It can also move through a space as narrow as 1 inch wide without squeezing.
Okay, this thing's great. I quite like. To be fair, I do quite like this thing. How big? 1 inch? Did
1
you say?
inch without squeezing.
That's tiny. It's gonna take days to get through there.
Yeah.
Well, it depends how big it is, I suppose. Well, it's gargantuan.
It's huge.
Anyway.
It is colossal.
Jesus. I mean, that is technically true. I mean, it would be able to get through that size of an object.
Yeah.
That's pretty awesome. I do really like it, actually. But I'm trying to think if I'm liking it just because I like what I would want to be doing with it. A sea adventure, I think, is a really awesome setting. We've not really done anything sea. Have we done any sea creatures?
Not really.
Question mark? No, we've not, have we?
I think this is our first foray.
Yeah. So I might go quite high. I might go like 17 for Leviathan, actually. I really like him. He's cool.
I really like them, but I'm going lower because of it is a cool sea thing, and what we've talked about is really cool. But if it's like a sea adventure, I'm thinking about other gargantuan sea creatures that I would use.
There's a lot of gargantuan.
I would probably rather use a dragon turtle or like a kraken.
That's fair.
Like, they would be a lot more classic to me. But this thing is incredibly cool as an elemental, so it's still going to get a number. I'm going 12.
Okay, that's fair.
Which I think is our biggest difference.
Yes,
it's probably up there. Yeah,
Well, that works out because my number was bridging the gap a little bit. I'm gonna go 14.
Nice. Okay.
Because I also think it's quite cool. I think that I think my number's affected because I'm looking at what it is in the book compared to like what it can be.
Right. Yeah. Again, I kind of am guilty of that a little bit.
Yeah. I think that if you were really, if a creative person really went in and was like, yeah, it has has all these actions, I'd be like, yeah, this is a pretty cool guy. But just as it is in the book, it is a big thing that smacks things and has a cool super attack.
Yeah. Speaking of big things, I keep saying Neolithid.
Yeah, correct.
What do we think about him?
I like that he's a lot lower level challenge rating.
Yes, it's a low challenge rating gargantuan creature, which is there's not a lot of that. So that's cool. It might be the lowest level gargantuan. I'm not sure about that.
It may be.
I ain't gonna fact check it.
No, we're not about facts.
I don't know if it's true. If you care, look it up. Don't worry about it, guys. Anyway, that's very aggressive of me. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
We all like Mindflayer stuff. Mindflayers are awesome. They're very cool. Hey, Baldur's Gate 3 got announced, and there's Mindflayers in it, confirmed. The story of it is it's got a very cool story of like all the straight up like what it says in the book about what it is and why it exists. I think this is one of the most interesting like setups for like a big monster. It is pretty scary, like just what it is and what it can do. Although having your party it relies on your party knowing that to be scary, and that could be sort of hard to talk about. You know, it's not just like big and strong, and that's why it's scary. It's scary because it has all this in powerful psychic stuff, and it can detect brains for miles and stuff like. But again, having that come across would be work to do. But if you do it well, would be very effective and very cool. So, but again, it's not my favorite thing. I'm probably going to give it like a 14.
Yeah, I can see that. I'm probably going to be in the same-ish ballpark.
Yeah.
Part of what is a little disappointing about it, well, one of the good things is that it has a breath attack. I like that it does have some minor spell casting.
Oh yeah, yeah.
That it is an underdark gargantuan creature that could maybe be stalking the halls of a something mind flayery.
Yeah,
like a underground crashed mind flayer ship.
Oh yeah.
Something, and it's like roaming the halls, and it's pretty like cool in that regard. One thing against it that I didn't really talk about is its regular attack is very obligatory. Tentacle, get swallowed. The thing that gargantuan creatures have, do amount of damage, spit it up.
But it's like a dumb big worm monster, I guess. So it can't.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's a lot of its power comes from it being a big worm, I guess. But...
And it does have some spell casting and breath, so it's cool. I'm going to give it a 14 as well.
Okay.
Yeah. So? Mind flayers are cool, and they're scared of it, so it gets a 15.
That's actually a fairly good point. that I didn't take into account is that this is the thing that mind flayers are scared of. Like they're not.
I think they're disgusted by them.
They're disgusted, but they can't fight it properly.
They can't detect them.
They can't detect them, and I think that is a pretty decent point as well. It's like this is something that you could have mind flayers. If you do have a mind flare society, you could use it as something that they don't want around. I'm going to call it done for now, and then
I can't wait.
We'll fade in here.
Oh.
What? It's a bold new direction.
Oh my
Good
which
Lord.
I'm definitely not going to do a lot of.
Whoa. I mean,
that's fucking sick. That is album cover right there.
that is ridiculous.
I did all the line art as usual, and then I was like, oh, I'll digital paint. I can't decide if I hate it or not, mainly because I spend ages on it, and it's one of those things where the more time you spend on something, the less you like it. But it's certainly something. There's a lot of colour. It's very yellow.
Yeah. It is.
Oh, it's great.
I think it's awesome though. Like, yeah.
I love Norman on the hill watching on.
No, yeah. He's just in. This is his smallest appearance to date, of course. There's a lot of colours in water, especially ocean. And I don't know. I think I must have mentioned it at least once, but I'll mention it again. I am quite colourblind, so it takes a lot of effort for me to like just go. Oh, I know there's green somewhere. I don't know how much green there is in this now. I remember putting quite a lot in, but I don't know if it got through.
Oh man, I love how disgusting that mouth is.
It is. It's very disgusting. As soon as I coloured that in, it was like, ugh. It does, because I didn't really draw it in too much detail originally, and I thought I'm gonna give it teeth. It's gonna have layers. It's real. Ugh.
It comes off gross.
It definitely does, and it certainly looks. It's meant to be gross, so that's good.
Exactly.
Yeah, I think, and I gave the again when looking back on it, because I do the editing, and I listened through to the first half. For the Leviathan, I really just drew what I wanted. I didn't really pay any attention to what it actually is.
You were set on your sights pretty quickly.
And
that's okay.
I can't think. June is over, and so is Giant Monster June, or Kaijune. That's no more giant. Nothing big ever again. You know,
no more big monsters.
No more big monsters until next year, assuming we're all still here.
Sea.
Yeah, there he goes. There goes the Terrace walking off into the ocean. His. You don't need any special rituals to summon these videos. You can just press the subscribe button, and then new videos will appear in that list. And if you really want to summon us, ring the bell, because
I don't know if you can do about the Neolithid, like
1 like equals 1 more mind flayer tadpole eaten by the brain before it turns into a Neolithid.
Yep.
That sentence sort of ran away from me a little bit.
Yep.
You know what to do, probably.